Hi, everyone. Good morning. Can you hear me? Great. Well, welcome to this Pathways to Resilience Knowledge and Data Innovation Practice Group. Thank you for joining. I'm going to be now sharing my screen so we can start. Let me know if you can see it well.
Perfectly.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's keep starting. So before we start, first of all, please take care of some technical considerations. Take care of your audio. You can keep your microphone muted while you're not speaking and unmute to contribute. And also, please turn on your camera. We would like to see you. And for engagement, please, you can raise your hand. And of course, you can also use the reaction tools from Zoom. And of course, you can use the chat to do any comments or questions. And last but not least, please rename yourself. You can put where are you coming from next to your name. So yes, thank you for that. So I want to share with you the agenda of today. We are going to have a brief introduction of what the innovation practice groups are. And then we will do also a check-in exercise. We would like to hear from you, like who's on the room, where are you coming from? And then we would like also to share with you some of the takeaways we were discussing at the deep dive session, also on knowledge and data, where some Pathways to Resilience experts are contributing. And then, yes, we will go directly to our session on knowledge and data. Here today we have 3 experts that are going to be sharing their knowledge with us. And then you will have the opportunity to do some questions and go into a discussion. Then we will have a coffee break so we can stretch our legs a bit. And then we will come back to work on a breakup room discussion. We're going to be doing some exercises so we can share what we have learned and our thoughts on the presentations. And we will do this on a plenary. And finally, we will do a feedback survey and we will close the session by 12. So I wanted to briefly introduce you to these Pathways to Resilience innovation practice groups. Many of you maybe already have participated this week in some of these IPGs, but for those that are new here, or also as we having here some stakeholders out of Pathways to Resilience joining us today, I wanted to briefly share with you what these IPGs are. Pretty much this is an idea, a space where we can learn and exchange knowledge with the groups. And this is guided by the region's challenges and region's needs, because the idea is to review, to refine, new ideas, plans, or solutions that are needed at the local level. The objective of these innovation practice groups is to connect regions with sources of knowledge and experience that we are creating at the Pathways to Resilience project, also to create communities of innovative adaptation practitioners across Europe. That's why we are also inviting others, like other stakeholders, to participate in these open groups, and to provide additional knowledge and exchange opportunities, because here the idea is to learn from each other and try to improve our adaptation strategies and actions. So you will see that today and in other IPGs, we are going to be sharing best practices, develop plans and ideas, and share experiences at the local level. And also, the idea is to gain a wider view on regional challenges. So where are we? Okay, so this IPG's idea started when we do our intro session at the kickoff meeting with the regions. And at Pathways to Resilience, we're already working with 40 regions. I'm going to be working with other 60. So here in October, we identify some key topics to discuss, and what are the challenges, what are the needs, and we identify these topics. And now we are here, right, in the week 1 of the IPGs, and we are gonna keep on discussing and exchanging around these topics identified through the other 2 weeks of IPGs in June and in September. So for today, we have been working on a Miro board. This is the tool we are going to be using to exchange thoughts and ideas. This is going to be available throughout and after the session for your reference and for collaboration. So we are sharing the Miro board in the chat, and you can already access there clicking. And there you will see the IPG weeks calendar, where we are going to be posting all the IPG sessions and the links to register, and then the session content. Here we are going to be working later today. And then something that we thought it would be useful for you is the wall of resources, where we will find the Pathways to Resilience resources and links, also tools, also templates, and some reports, scientific papers, and case studies. So there is a lot of information there that you can start digging in. So we want to understand who is in the room with us today. So if you agree, we will do a quick presentation. First of all, I would like to introduce and thank the team of the Pathways to Resilience project. Here with us today, we have, well, my name is Mariana from Regions 4, sorry. We are partners in the Pathways to Resilience project. And also we have with us our colleagues. Maybe, I don't know if you want to say hello, Oscar, Melissa, Karien, and well, Silvia and Paloma
Hi
from Climate
everyone.
Hey everyone.
Oscar Higuera from YASA, researcher at the Systemic Risk and Resilience Group, and supporting the content development of the IPG. And hand over to you, Karian.
Good morning, I'm Karianne de Bruin from Deltaris, supporting Marianne on this IPG. Melissa.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Kran from Regions 4, also supporting the IPG, and very glad to be following the discussion. Paloma?
Hello everyone, also supporting in the innovation practice groups from Climate side in this case, and pass it over to Silvia.
Thanks, Paloma, and hi everybody. Welcome and good morning. Mariana, over to you.
Thank you all. So now we want to hear also from you. Let's do a quick chat shower. You can start putting in the chat where are you from. Please put where region are you coming from, or from which organization, so we can have an idea of who's joining. We would really like to hear from you. So yeah, you can start doing this chat shower. So we have from West region in Romania, Finland, Denmark. Great, thanks for joining us. Oof, a lot. Andalusia, we have Gorenska from Slovenia, region on Western Greece. Oh, this is going out from Austria, from YASA. Yeah, Madrid. Excellent. We have people from Herzegovina, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Hungary, Basque Country. Great. Well, this is great to have all these many regions. Thank you. And now we want to also do a quick question, so to also do a kind of chat shower on what excites you most about the potential of knowledge and data to drive climate action. So there, Melissa posted the question, what excites you most about the potential of knowledge and data to drive climate action, to bring climate action to the next level? What are you expecting from all the knowledge and data that it's out there, linking and finding linkages between climate scenario data and socioeconomic indicators? Great. What else? Let's start brainstorming on the topic. What do you think it would be useful for leveraging climate action? Data to give a strong business case for investment in adaptation. That's also, yeah, good point. The opportunity to empower key stakeholders, definitely that's the idea also of this session today. Use a new data sources, strength local action and decision making, interoperability, accessibility of open data. What else? Applying and connecting local knowledge with scientific data. Great. Okay, so definitely that's something interesting to discuss and to deep dive in. So that's the idea of today's session. So just on the sake of time, I'm gonna now we can start, and we want to share with you some of the key takeaways we were discussing at a group that we call Deep Dive in Pathways to Resilience, where we are gathering experts on knowledge and data. And the idea is in this IPG and the next IPGs to start bringing the knowledge and the discussions of these experts to the IPGs, so we can also learn from what's being discussed there. So now I will give the floor to my colleague Anka, so you can share with us the insights of this kickoff meeting of the deep dive session. The floor is yours, Anka. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. Hi, everyone. So what you can see here is just some cartoons that we had as one of the visual takeaways from the deep dive session, just to kind of make you laugh and provide a bit of insight of what we were speaking about. As Mariana mentioned, these deep dives are another series of events that we're organizing as part of Pathways to Resilience project. And here, a community of experts come together around the topics of the so-called key enabling conditions, so conditions that need to be in place for climate adaptation to be successful, one of which is the topic of knowledge and data. The reason why we're mentioning this is because there's supposed to be a connection between these deep dives on one side and the innovation practice groups on the other. So the innovation practice groups are also supposed to share learnings and kind of challenges that are identified here with the deep dive experts, so they can kind of help us and share this knowledge that they co-create with the innovation practice groups. So Mariana, could you show the next slide, please? So we also had a visual note taker join us, and while we don't have time now to go into kind of the details of the discussions we had in the deep dives, what we need is your feedback. So what we have identified in the meeting is some priority topics that should be kind of at the center of these discussions in the deep dives. And because the outputs of these deep dives are supposed to be relevant for you, we have some questions around these priority topics. So we just want to know if these topics are relevant for you. So the topics that were identified for experts, do they resonate? Is this something that you would need kind of information and support on, something that you find challenging? So I'll just give you a few minutes to read these priorities topics. Please put in the chat which ones you think are most relevant for you. And if you think of something that is missing from this list, please also put it in the chat. So I'll keep silent for a few minutes to let you read them. And then, yeah, as you see something that you find interesting, please just type it in and put it in the chat. Then we will take this away for the next deep dive sessions. So you have around 2 minutes to do this. Thank you. Okay, citizen science is popular, so a good topic to have during this innovation practice groups. Okay, so we have a few more coming in. uncertainty communication. There was a cartoon about that on the last one. I don't know if you noticed. It was really funny about cheese. Yeah, here it is. It's supposed to have host, sir. That's called uncertainty. So one of the discussion points was that uncertainty is not necessarily bad. We just need to communicate it. Okay, thank you everyone for these inputs. We'll note them down and take them into our next deep dive sessions.
Thank you, Anka. Super interesting. And yeah, the idea is to keep on bringing the knowledge of the deep dive sessions to the IPGs. So let's move forward and let's start and zooming into our session today of knowledge and data. Today, we are going to be talking about particularly on citizen science and integrating knowledge systems. I wanted to quickly brief you on what this session going to be about. As I mentioned, we are going to be zooming into citizen science, where we are going to be discussing, we have some experts on these topics who's going to be discussing on how science contributes to climate resilience, also around some tools, methodologies, and challenges in data collection and analysis. That's something you may be already experiencing. Also, we are going to be sharing some best practices for implementing citizen science initiatives. And on the other hand, we are going to be discussing about how to bridge knowledge systems, right? From connecting this top-down and bottom-up knowledge, and also how to enhance data access, coordination, and transparency across regions. And finally, how to leverage the community-driven insights for evidence-based adaptation. So the idea or what you can expect from today's session is to hear from some leading experts and local knowledge, and to exchange knowledge among you and experiences around these issues and these challenges you may have at your region. And of course, to participate, to interact on this discussion, the idea is to brainstorm, to share what are your concerns, your needs, your challenges, your best practices, and so on. So the idea, it's to share knowledge and try to find solutions that are helpful for all. So to start with our expert panel, I would like to introduce you to Dilek Freisal. She's a researcher scholar at the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, IASA, which is one of our Pathways to Resilience partners. And then we will hear from Mark Neumann on citizen science and climate adaptation. And then we will also hear from Francisco Cobos on bridging the top-down and the bottom-up knowledge systems. So if you agree, let's start, Dilek. I give you the floor, and I will be passing the slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this event, and thanks for the nice introduction. Maybe we can go ahead with the next slide. My name is Dilek Freisal. I'm a senior researcher at the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, and I'm also the managing director of the Citizen Science Global Partnership, which is a network of networks that aims to advance citizen science for a sustainable world. So I'm also happy to talk to you about citizen science in that context. If we can go ahead, please. So let me start with citizen science. I heard that there's another colleague who will be talking about citizen science, and I would wonder how he or she defines citizen science, or how they define citizen science. But it is a very difficult topic for me. It's to define. I've been publishing a lot on what citizen science means and what context, and so also working a lot on the science of citizen science, but there's no agreed definition, to put it that way. And there are so many different terminologies and definitions used to describe similar activities. But what I would like to say is that I define citizen science in an inclusive way, or we define in our work citizen science in an inclusive way, and use it as an umbrella term to explain public participation in scientific research and knowledge production activities. And what is really key here is the voluntary contributions of the public in this type of research. You may have heard of different terminologies such as community-based monitoring. I think it's coming up in this event as well. And then there are others such as crowdsourcing, citizen-generated data, citizen data. I'm working with a lot of diverse communities, and they all use different terminologies to describe these public participation in research activities. But as I said, we take it as we take an inclusive approach to accept all these diverse practices. One of the reasons why there are so many diverse terminologies and definitions to explain this activity is because they all come into existence in different contexts, and they really represent the peculiarity of the context in which they originate. And you see some examples of citizen science activities here, from beach cleanups to basically bird monitoring projects. If we could advance the slide, please. So some of the citizen science related activities you may know as biodiversity related observations or measuring water or air quality. But there are also other topics that are not necessarily on environmental topic, but very, very important in the context of sustainable development, such as reporting on safety or violence, or another example could be identifying slums and poverty. What I would like to say is citizen science can also take many different forms, from hypothesis-driven research led by scientists and people. Volunteers contribute data, and there could also be initiatives where volunteers and scientists identify the research questions together and work together in many different aspects of this research life cycle. Next, please. So we know that citizen science could benefit the society many different ways. One of the ways is not only about gathering data, but also about raising awareness of environmental and other societal issues among the public, and supporting science and scientific activities in the form of data collection and many other ways, but also contributing to decision and policy making. And I will give you some examples later on. Next one, please. So I thought like I could start with some generic slides about, what are the benefits of citizen science in a societal perspective, and also for professional scientists like myself, or maybe many of you. But I don't need to go into details of it. I'm happy to share the slides with you after the event, but maybe just to highlight one or two very important highlights is really citizen science is about facilitating research by enhancing the spatial and temporal extent and the quantity of data, but also providing more cost-efficient ways of data collection, which is very important both for scientists and also policymakers, and also achieving public outreach, as mentioned before, but also it's a new methodology for scientists. This is really exciting and important to use in our research. And citizen science is also about openness, right? Open science, because it opens the processes of research and it feeds into the pillars of open science. It's not only about open data, but also really making the whole scientific process open and inviting public to contribute to it. Maybe we can advance to the next one. But there are also a lot of challenges related to citizen science, so we also need to be comfortable to talk about that. Data quality comes up quite often, because I work a lot with the UN agencies and the countries that are interested in integrating these type of data into their official statistics, as well as to make policy decisions. But data quality comes out very often as the issue here. And representativeness, inclusivity could be one of the other related to data quality again, but also in terms of digital divide. So we're talking about citizen science type of methodologies are really making the scientific processes open to diverse communities and people. But there are many cases where citizen science can also fail in terms of reaching out to the most marginalized. And a lot of citizen science projects use technologies But we know the existence of digital divide and not these technologies or, you know, even the use of internet not being available for everyone everywhere. But also this issue of bridging the local with global, that came out as one of the topics that you are highlighting in this event as well. But I will give you a very concrete example on how we could actually do this bridging. In diverse methodologies used in citizen science, I mentioned that I'm the managing director of the Citizen Science Global Partnership, which is hosted at IASA. The thing, working at a global scale with citizen science, there are many citizen science projects that are working on similar topics, say beach cleanups, for instance, but they all use diverse methodologies. But if we want these data to be useful at a larger scale than only at the local, and use these to address data gaps in global monitoring efforts, we need to find ways to, you know, work with similar methodologies. And this is one of the struggles that we're having. I'm not going to go into details of that, but maybe we can move on to the next slide. If you would like to know a little bit more about challenges and opportunities for citizen science, we published a paper in Nature Reviews Methods Primaries about 2 years ago, where we highlight really all these challenges as practitioners and scientists using this as a methodology. So feel free to have a look at that paper. Next one, please. So you know this, I guess. So if you know, maybe you can just react using the React tool. You can raise your hands to just say, yes, I know this, what this is. It would be good to know how familiar you are with what you see on the screen. It's written there. So this is the global goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So there are 17 goals. Thanks, Daniela, for raising your hand. It's good to interact every now and then, even with these technological tools. So there are 17 goals under the UN Sustainable Development Goals framework. So Sustainable Development Goals are approved or adopted in 2015 to be achieved by 2030. The reason why I'm talking about that is a lot of my research is related to this Sustainable Development Goals and their data gaps. And I will give you some example, also focusing on the climate change related SDG indicators. Goal is SDG 13, as you could see here, climate action. So under these 17 goals, there are 169 targets. And under these 169 targets, to measure our progress, the interagency expert group on SDG indicators established by the UN has adopted 231 unique indicators. We can move on, please. So this is basically from the latest SDG report that is published by UN Statistics Division, UN DESA, every year around July or so. They make this openly available. So this figure shows the data gaps in the SDG framework. And I would like, and this is basically comparing the data availability between 2019 and 2024. At the UN SDG global database, and it shows it by goal. So all the at the bottom you see the goals. If you look at goal 13, is basically there is some improvement, but still there are huge, large data gaps in the SDG framework, and none of them are like, you know, data are available at 100%. That would be a dream, but also some of the indicators are really lacking data in comparison to others. So just to give you one example, for instance, UNEP has done this review of environmental SDG indicators, and they identified that there are 92 among these 231 indicators, SDG indicators in the SDG framework. And about half of them still lack data today, but we're talking about achieving these goals in 5 years from now. So we don't even know where we are with many of those environmental SDGs today, but we're trying to achieve something with them. So, but we cannot improve what we cannot measure, as we always say. The next slide, please. And please, Mariana, stop me or let me know when I have some less time. I can't really keep an eye on time. That would be really good.
Yes, we are okay. You have 5 more minutes.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so we published this paper to map citizen science contributions because, as we mentioned, there are a lot of citizen science projects that are happening at very different scales. And we looked at the data that they produce and also the metadata and methodologies of the 231 SDG indicators. And what this paper says, basically, 33% of the SDG indicators can benefit from citizen science data. And the details, you can have a look. Next one, please. And this is just one example from SDG 15, and it shows where citizen science data are already contributing. This is the green one, and then there's potential for it to contribute, but it's not contributing at the moment is the yellow part of the pie chart. And so on the left side, you would see this in terms of the whole SDGs, and gray shows basically we can identify any contribution based on available citizen science projects and their data sets. So a lot of these green areas for SDG 15 are related to bird monitoring projects because a lot of these biodiversity citizen science projects data are being used by BirdLife International to report on these particular SDG indicators on protected areas. If we could go ahead, please. Next one. So these are the details from these papers. And some of the examples that I would like to highlight in the context of your work related to climate adaptation and resilience. This is a tool that we developed at the ESA, which is called Picture Pile. And it's basically a flexible tool that you can ask diverse questions. It integrates Earth observations with citizen science approaches. So it could digest imagery from satellites, for instance, or drones. And then you can ask your volunteers quickly whether like you can show a pair of images or you can ask different questions, as you could see in the slide. The important thing is, so we use this for identifying damage after Hurricane Matthew. So we published this as paper where we use this tool in different areas, asking different research questions. And with the help of our volunteer network, we produce maps of diverse things such as deforestation. And I think this is really important in the context of understanding damage after disasters occur, so post-disaster damage assessment in the context of your work. And you can read the details of the contributions of this particular tool and based on the campaigns we have done to different SDG indicators in this paper. If you could move on, please. Next one. And this is this paper, basically. Next one, please. Another one in the context of this event today, an example, this is also an SDG indicator 6.2.1 of related to proportion of population using safely managed sanitation services and hand washing facility. In Mukuru, Nairobi, a citizen science climate justice planning project was implemented, and public people who live in that area actually helped to identify the issues that are matters of concerns to them, and then they found that through the data collection activity using citizen science approaches, less than 1% of the residents had access to private in-home toilets, and 37% lacked regular access to safe and affordable drinking water. And they use these data to basically for demanding action. And this is a paper about that. You can read the details of that event, that particular project. But we can move on. There are a lot of other citizen science projects that are very relevant to climate adaptation and resilience in the context of your work. Another example is I See Change. This is about recording climate change impacts globally. And this is a citizen science project that is active in more than in 118 countries around the world, and they are extending their reach. Next one, please. And another example of project is My Coast, which is about documenting tides, storms damage, beach cleanups, everything related to the coast where people live. Next one, please. And another example, crowd water. This is about collecting hydrological data, and this is a project from Switzerland, if I remember correctly. And it's the goal is basically to gather a large number of observations and improve the prediction of hydrological events such as droughts and flooding. Next one, please. This is another project, Donate Water, that we have developed the app at IASA and work with UNICEF. So this was a project led by UNICEF that's called YOMA. So young people developed an application or designed an application that we developed together with their communities to identify broken water pumps in their communities. And this got so much attention, and we gathered so many data points. And we also experimented with different ways of incentivizing people using blockchain and AI and different technologies to how to gather people, or how to, particularly in resource constrained area, how to activate citizen science activities. Next one, please. eBird is one of the most known citizen science projects that gather more than 100 million bird sightings every year. And this is very important because shifting bird distributions can actually tell a lot about climate change. Shall I stop and say, Oscar, would you like to come in now, or you wanna?
Yeah, we will have some minutes for Q&A.
Okay,
Juliet. So
done then.
I don't know, Oscar, if you want to jump in now, or you can wait until the Q&A session.
No, we can go ahead with the Q&A.
Okay, great. So the next one, please. Next slide. Another project, UK based, but basically the methodology that they implement is used globally in many places. It's about water quality monitoring, and citizen scientists contribute to this a lot in different parts of the world using the same methodology, which produce a global open data set that could be used for a lot of like global biodiversity framework, as well as the SDG monitoring work. And next one, please. This is like, we talked a lot about, citizen science has the potential for the SDGs and maybe other frameworks, such as the Common Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, maybe Paris Agreement, and many, many others. But like these data that these initiatives produce, and most of the time, scientifically rigor and very like a global scale as well. But the potential of these data are actually not realized. So we wanted to change that, and we wanted to really use the data that these initiatives produce or help convince governments and the UN to actually use these data to address data gaps that I highlighted at the in the middle of my presentation. So we have worked with the Ghana Statistical Service, which is the National Statistical Office of the country, as well as the UNEP as the custodian agency of the indicator related to plastic debris density under SDG 14. And this marks the first time in history citizen science data have been integrated into official statistics of a country and also reported to the UN SDG Global Database as country validated data. You can move on, please. And we basically published a scientific paper with the partners from UNEP who worked in this project with us, and we highlighted our process of integrating these data and the data validation process for other countries and national statistical offices to use these data and also to integrate into their policy making. So these data is not only used for official statistics, but also informing the integrated coastal and marine management policy that is currently under development in Ghana. And as I said, this is the first example of it. And we also published this checklist for other countries and the methodology in detail for them to use to measure this particular indicator, but also it can help to use integrate citizen science data on many different topics into their official statistics if they're interested. And this has really got a lot of attention. It's just featured just recently again at the UN Statistics Division as the best practice example. And a lot of this work has also translated into UN Statistics Division, being mandated to understand and work with citizen science and citizen data approaches to address SDG data gaps. And a lot of countries are using this. Now, Sierra Leone and Ghana have been working in mutual learning exercises to learn from each other about, or to learn from Ghana how they implemented this initiative. Next one, please. So this is basically the details of the project, but we need to work we need to be very careful when we're working with local communities, because they are not there to close government data gaps or, I don't know, scientific data gaps. So they are not free labor to close our data needs. They should also receive the shared benefit from participating. And in their case, this is really about, for them, action. It's not closing government data gaps or scientific data gaps. So it's really important. This was a process that we started as a 6-month project because we already worked with existing available data, but it took more than 2 years because it's really about building trust, bringing these diverse communities and stakeholders together. Next slide, please.
You have 1 minute.
1 minute?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm finishing anyway. So this was one of the final slides. So we also published this technical feasibility study because at the next stage, we wanted to use AI, citizen science, drones to produce a litter density map. So marine litter, plastic litter hotspots on the entire coastline of Ghana. You can have a look at the details of that feasibility report. And this is about, if you're new to citizen science, this is the paper that I mentioned at the start. Like, if you want to implement it, use it in your scientific research, you can only use this paper. And the next one, please. Next one. Next one, this basically describes how to go through these process of designing and implementing citizen science projects. So I will stop here and thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Dilek. Super interesting. Just because we are just on time to continue, I wanted this is the time to do questions, but we already have one at the chat. So if you are okay, I can read it to you. Daniela, it's asking at the community level, can we consider the citizen science as a dimension of tactic knowledge in the larger process of knowledge creation? You are muted.
Yes, definitely. That's the whole idea of citizen science. I guess you may use another term for it, but the idea is really use this knowledge that the community or individual possess about their local environment, about the changes that they experience, and then integrate it into scientific process. So it's basically a whole cycle of transdisciplinary research activity.
Okay. So Oscar, I don't know if you have a comment or anybody else has a question for Dilek, because she can't stay with us the whole session. So if you have any question from Dilek, this is the time to do the questions on her presentation. And if not, of course, you can also share your question when the session is finished, and we will share them with Dilek. But yeah, any questions? Oscar, do you want to jump in as well?
There is another one in the chat.
Okay, so let me read it. From Hannah, what role can mapping tools play in helping citizens collect and share local knowledge to tackle environmental and climate issues together?
Yeah, I think this is a very key role. I haven't used this as an example in my presentation, but you may have heard of OpenStreetMap and humanitarian OpenStreetMap. So this is basically used as a citizen science tool to address a lot of local issues, local challenges. So of course they have great role to play. There are a lot of, like not only mapping tools, but there are a lot of open source tools available where people can use to address their own data needs, and maybe even to keep their local authorities or governments accountable on an issue that matters to them. I couldn't highlight really so many of them in my presentation today because you can only do so much in short time. But their role is really clear, so they can really help in data collection, and then you can use these data and people can use these data later on to address their, maybe to communicate with the authorities who could actually take policy action or make decisions based on this. And I think this is one of the most like prominent role that these kind of tools can play. But also the example that I highlighted from Nairobi is basically that example also includes using mapping around the whole area to identify what are the facilities that are important to that community inside that area that they live. And there are lots and lots of other examples of this.
Thank you, Dilek. Super, super interesting. I would say, on the sake of time, that we need to move forward with our next.
Yeah, I'll try to
expert.
stay a bit longer. If there's
Okay,
anything in the
great.
chat or discussion, I'll try and answer them. But
Thank
thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. Super interesting. So, yeah, here are her email and details. So let's move to our next speaker. I want to introduce you to Mark Neumann. He's a researcher professor at the Basque Center for Climate Change at the Basque Country. So Mark, the floor is yours. Can you hear us?
Thank you, Mariana.
Great, thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And the two things that resonated with me, the slide on the access to sanitation, 1% access to in-house toilet we saw before, because my background is in urban water management. And the second thing that I saw in the introduction, when you posted the big challenges at the beginning of this session today, and you had the sound downscaling, which is something that resonated with me a lot, especially for variables connected to hydrology. And then some other ones that you mentioned was integration across scales and integration across disciplines. And then finally one on uncertainty communication. So what I will talk a bit about today is some of our research approaches at the BC3 on the topics around knowledge integration and knowledge diversity, and making knowledge available. And I'm basically going to show two examples. One is going to be on cognitive mapping, and the other one on integrated modeling. So you could go to the next slide. So this is quite a nice sketch that one of our former PhD students, who is now a senior researcher with us here, did during her postdoc, and is showing the challenge of having a lot of diverse knowledge, and basically every person has their own, let's say, their own knowledge system, and here represented as different causal networks. So we might have a water manager on the left, a health specialist with the yellow ones, a citizen with the pink ones, a parks manager with the green nodes. And of course, the big challenge is how do we bring these different knowledge frames or knowledge types, these different understandings together. And ideally, we'd find a network, as we have below, that combines these different perspectives, and then we can start to get an understanding of, let's say, something like a system of systems, or a sense of the complexity that we're dealing with. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of well, some examples of how we've been using this. So we've been using this in different systems. This here is an example from heat wave impacts. Specifically, this was looking at heat wave impacts on human health in the city of Madrid. And this is the result from the interview of one person with one person. And we've done this exercise in other settings, such as wastewater treatment in Northern Ireland, in flood risk in New York, in forest management in southern Spain, in One Health approaches across Europe. So in some way, this is independent of the type of system you're looking at. But it is systems where we have this challenge that we generally maybe go back to the previous one. If you can, not to the previous slide. Yeah, this one. Next. The next slide. Yeah. That we're facing when we're looking at climate change impact. So we have these different hazards that we're dealing with, for example, high heat, intense precipitation, and it's quite naturally or easy to understand that this is impacting, these hazards impact many sectors. So these impacts are propagate through different sectors, and then potentially feed back into your maybe the main sector that you're interested in, which might be morbid mortality is in this central in one of the central nodes you can see in this in this network here. So basically, what we're doing in these networks is that we are conducting semi-structured interviews, and we're getting within the interview, we're basically starting to elicit the knowledge of this person, the stakeholder or researcher, in the form of a causal network, where we ask what the main constituents are and how they are connected, and if they're influencing in a positive or negative way. And we start to build up this view of a systems perspective per person or per interview. And then we go through a process of homogenization and quite a difficult process where we need to also align the terminology. So somebody one of the people that you interview might have been speaking of green spaces, somebody else of green infrastructure, somebody of urban parks. And of course, this then you might combine into a single node, which you might call green spaces, and you have to go through that translation of terminology with it, which then allows you, if you go to the next slide, to connect these different understandings into a very large network. And of course, here you can see this already becomes in some way not manageable, like by just trying to grasp it directly. But then we can use different tools to run simulations, and we can. You see, for example, the green nodes or the green nodes and the green tags, they are referring to adaptation interventions. And basically what we can do in these simulations then is force one of these adaptation interventions and see how this propagates through this network or through these complex systems and how it affects other nodes. So basically you're pulling or pushing on one of the nodes and looking how other ones are affected. If you go to the next slide, we can see an example of this. So this would be, for example, enforcing green infrastructures in the system. And then we have here how this might affect different nodes or variables in this system. And we have here, like the middle column is the aggregated across all people interviewed. And then here, then also separated for the decision makers and the researchers, which were the agents interviewed in this case. So we can see differences across different subgroups of agents. And so, for example, that, you know, like increasing green infrastructure or shading will reduce thermal stress, will improve microclimate regulation. There's some uncertainty about how it affects water consumption. So you see here, this is, you had also, you mentioned in the session, this top-down or bottom-up perspective. So this is a bit of a top-down technique where you can quickly, by integrating different perspectives, get a sense of how these connections of these systems, of these different understandings, allow you to get an understanding or sensing of the complexity and how interventions in one sector might affect other sectors. So this is, and I'll share with you on the chat just one example of this work. So this was let's say, a top-down technique. I'll show you the example there. Now, of course, the challenge is we run into here very quickly in this these examples I showed you with this cognitive mapping into these challenges of terminology, that we need an analyst who's going to go through looking for the common terminology and doing these translations, basically developing a semantics. And so another way of facing this challenge, and this is summarized here under integrated modeling and pointing you towards ARIES. You see the title below, ARIES for integrated modeling. I'll share the link with you, which is developed by one of my colleagues here at BC3, Ferdinando Villa. And the idea is a bit different. The idea here is to provide a platform, provide semantics, so provide a dictionary or terminology of concepts, provide also an ontology, so a formal description of knowledge as a set of concepts in a domain and the possible relationships that can exist. So basically providing the space, the platform and the language, and then inviting experts, agents, citizens from all over the world to start feeding this system. And so this is a very different approach. Let's call it a bottom-up approach that provides a platform, but then it makes, in kind of a democratic way, makes this open to allow interaction with this platform, allow you to upload your data, to upload your models, and then have the possibility of these models and data being able to interact with each other. So in some idea, if maybe you go to the next slide. And this is just an example how these interfaces might look like. I'll share with you the link in the chat. You can also open an account there if you're interested and try using this approach. And so this is a system that is based on GIS, so on geospatial or spatial temporal data, but then is very open in what kind of themes and topics can be integrated in this place. So this could be from all the climate variables we can think of, land use change, hydrology, biodiversity, and so on. So I invite you to visit this site as well. This site as well as an opportunity or a way of showing how knowledge could be integrated in this very much bottom-up approach.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Super interesting. Now we will have another presentation, but then if we can, we will have a Q&A session. So if anybody has any question, you can start posting it on the chat or keep it for the Q&A. Thank you so much, Mark. Now we are moving to our next speaker. I want to introduce you to Francisco Solano Cobos Ruiz. He's the Climate and Power Project Lead at the Ministry of Sustainability and Environment of the region of Andalusia. So welcome, Francisco. He's going to be sharing this Climate and Power Project experience. So the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. Thank you in the name of the government of Andalusia for inviting us and of course for considering interesting our experience. If you want to pass the next, please. Okay, first of all, I'm going to present you Andalusia. If you don't know it, is one of the southest region of Europe, of Spain, and that means of Europe. It's big. It's bigger than several European countries with more than 8.5 million inhabitants and more than 87,000 people and 8.5 million, sorry, 8.5 million people, 87,000 square kilometers. But the very dark red color that you see here in our area means that we are a highly vulnerable area with high temperatures. And we have chosen for this project Western Costa del Sol, a well-known area for the tourist that has more than 13 million of tourists every year and 92% of urban population with the risk of drought, floods, and forest fire. You want to know next slide, please. Climate Power Project is a climate adaptation mission project that involves 5 regions with similar problems about climate. That is Andalusia in the south of Spain, Sicily in Italy, Osek Banana country in Croatia, central Greece in Greece, and Triodos Mountain in Cyprus. But besides these regions and the government of the region, we have another 9 partners, some of them outside, like in Austria and in the United Kingdom, that are technological partner or research institute and this kind of institution. The project tries to increase the capacity of resilience, the capacity of taking decision of the governments towards the adaptation to climate change using technological tools. That means data, information, and applications. Next slide, please. So that what we thought, the first thing is to understand where we are, what are the problems that the regions are facing, and in what state are they now, and the expectation that they have. With the difference of the expectation and the objectives and the things that we have, we draw the gap, the difference between where we are and we want and we can be now. For this, the next step is to draw also a developer application with information and data and solution to build this design, and then capacity and empower local builders. The first step was to build a community of practice, and this is a bottom-up and up-bottom scheme, because the researchers, the university have the knowledge, the government have sometimes the information and have tools to manage and have high-level information, but the local towns, the local governments have the problem owner, and they usually get the first information. So in this community of practice with local government, scientific community, universities, research institute, the water cycle companies, farmers, and other regional parts of the government, like tourism, agriculture, water, and geographical information and statistical services. We build these communities practice to share our vision, our expectation, and to build a local solution. You want next slide? We made a diagnosis with the main problems. Those are the main troubles that we set about forest fire and drought, and others like groundwater salinization, desertification, and pluvial flooding and heat waves. That was defined with all the stakeholders, with all the community of practice. Next list, please. Then the sector most vulnerable in the economic area were agriculture, tourism, that is essential for the economy of this part of Spain. As I told you, they receive a huge amount of visitors every year, and health. And about the infrastructures, we detected as vulnerables the urban drainage system, the water distribution network, and natural spaces. Then we can go to the next. So the expectation generally, we feel that was all the parts wanted to share and to make useful information that probably already was detected, was available, but was not available for all the users. So the expectation of the project was to spread the information that already exists, to create big data repositories of information, and the cooperation between the different levels of the government and other stakeholders like companies and private sectors, and incorporate the cost-benefit scope all along the project. The best, please. Okay. So as I told you, we in the GAP we detailed all the information available, the models, the claim, and the first challenge was to share, to put the information at the service of the person that can take a decision, and also to bring this information that is fetched in a local environment, in the regional or in the university environment. First, next, please. With this, we want to develop, that is the main goal, a climate change resilience toolbox, but covering all the parts. I mean, investigation, research, the government that have the big data, but also the local information got in the local at local level. But as you can understand, at local level they don't have power to develop application, to establish models, or to compare. That's why the dialogue between various stakeholders is essential for the project to be useful, because the person or the stakeholder who developed and who knows how to develop is not the owner of the problem, and the owner of the problem may be the one that takes the first information but cannot get a smart exploitation of it because don't have the resources. And here appear the regional government and the research, universities, and this kind of institution. Next one, please. With this tool, so we want to do a final product, and the model doesn't end in the development. That's very important, and this is a horizontal goal of the project, to get the solutions, a useful solution for the final users, that are the local governments and the local authorities that take decisions, and they want to have the best information when they get decision to select action in the adaptation process to the climate change. That is very important. And finally, if you want to go to the next slide, as any European project that is financed with public funds, I wrote in the first slide, and I repeat it now. The project is financed 100% by the European Union, and of course our obligation is to spread it. So it's included a part of the project destined to share, to get it to the general population and to other regions. So the project includes follower region that are included in the second phase, and they try to adapt the project to their solution. We have chosen different regions. This other region is not in the sea, it's not so tourist, so it had a little different profile to try the solution and to see how it works. Now, the two final general ideas that I want to share with you is that the project, we choose the project and we joined this partnership because it's what perfectly aligned it what in the same direction that our strategy. It's not the sense of a project that is very attractive or that has very good objectives and you like it. No, the objectives of the project are included in our regional climate action plan approved by our government, so they go in the same direction to get high efficient to a good performance in our adaptation plan. And finally, to concrete, if you want to go to the next slide, please. The objective or something that we talk a lot in the project is that we transform data into service. We upgrade numbers, information, temperatures, model of snowing, of sea level, this kind of thing. We upgrade it and transform it into services that make the local authority stronger and smarter to get their decision. So the project connect down and up different level as the technical partner know, of course, how to develop a model, how to data are related, but they don't have the data, they don't generate the information, and they don't suffer the problem. They are not the problem owner. The next level, we have the local government that is more or less the opposite. That it's impossible to think that in a town has power to develop an application, to develop an infrastructure. So they have the problem. They know how the people feel and how their assets will suffer, but they don't know how to develop information. And frequently, even they are the first who get the information. The regional government have a stronger power in statistics, cartographical information, geographical information, economic, all these kind of things. And I said they don't have the other to expertise. They don't know directly the problem or how to have priority to one of them. And sometimes they don't have the power to develop a good application or a smart data model. And that's why all the levels speak together in this community of practice and get a joint solution. And this is what besides the climate adaptation solution and the technological solution that I wanted to show you in this today, how is important the collaboration between the different level of governance to have a high solution, a better solution that give a solution to all the levels. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you very much. Super interesting. We are running a little bit behind. Now is the time for the Q&A. We are checking if we are gonna keep the coffee break or we go directly to our breakout room discussions, given that we are running a bit late. But now I wanted to check if there are any questions on the chat that you want to make to Dilek or Mark or Francisco on their presentations. So I'm going to be checking the chat. Anybody want to raise their hand to share any questions for the speakers? Let's see, here is a comment from Oliver, but not a question. Anyone that wants to do any question? And if not, I would say we go directly to our breakup discussion. No raises hands, right?
Not for the moment.
Okay. Well, Silvia, let's go directly to the breakup discussion, or shall we do a quick break? I don't
And
know.
it's just to go directly to discussion, and when you're in the room, if you think it's needed to have a break, you can decide within your room.
Exactly.
Are you okay
Great.
with that?
Sure. So let's go. Let's go directly to our next part of the session. Now we are gonna break into rooms, and there the idea is to discuss on what we have learned and how it might apply to the context on your regions or your communities and organization. So now we are gonna be sharing in the chat the link again to the Miro board. We are gonna be working there for the next 20 minutes. We're gonna split, but you will have one of us leading, and we are gonna give you the instructions on how to use the Miro board and how to work on the exercise. And then we are gonna be back to all together to for the plenary sharing. So Silvia, I guess you're gonna be opening the breakout rooms
Thank you,
now.
Mariana. I'm gonna give
Great.
some instruction on that.
Yeah. Silvia, do you want me to share to?
It will be great because I know that someone at the same room mentioned that they were staying just to hear a bit more about the conversation, but they have a stable internet connection.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, can you see my screen?
Perfectly.
Okay, great. So we are in time. And okay, so we were brainstorming a bit on these two questions. So on question one, like from the presentations, what resonates with you and inspire you the most? We have here some comments. Many say that the idea of citizen science also allows communities and citizens to feel active in the face of climate change. So that's engaging, let's say, the stakeholders. Then we have the use of open data and open science in general. It's useful, right, to solve problems on climate change. I particularly find super interesting Dilek presentation on the apps she shared to deal with extreme weather events in Africa. Here, we have a question, Silvia, that we can maybe raise it here and check with you. Maybe Dilek posted. It's within Pathways to Resilience, if we could, there are some regions that would be interested in testing or piloting some citizen science initiatives. That's something maybe we can discuss later. I don't know if the regions here may be already interested in doing some kind of testing or piloting with citizen science initiatives. Please let us know. I think would be an interesting experience. So then, well, many mention the general message I would say is many find citizen science super useful and highlighted the importance of integrating bottom-up and top-down approaches, meaning national and regional level, that it was shared in the presentations. I don't know if my colleagues would like to add some of the key takeaways from these experts and these presentations. Here we have some more comments, but also I would like to hear from you if you want to raise your hand and share some of the thoughts. If not, I continue reading some of the messages here.
Maybe we can let if someone from the regions of the participants would like to share,
Yeah, we would like
reflect on
to,
something.
sure, we would like to hear from you, like what resonates or inspires you the most, what you have learned from these presentations, what you find useful also to be applied now at your region, at the community level. Feel free to interrupt and participate. Okay. Maybe we can, nobody wanna contribute, okay. Maybe we can check also the answers on the second question, related to the second question. Here we were focusing more on what are the good practices or ideas that you, like the regions, have to enhance access and usability of knowledge and data for climate resilience. And here, yeah, we have some insights. For instance, the importance of the standardization of digitalization and open data policies. That's a good point, like technologies and digitalization is useful, but you need access right to it. Also, someone saying the importance of creating a database, like a cloud platform to share the knowledge. Here again, so there is something stress related to the improvement and the importance of data accessibility to researchers with open data. So that's something maybe we can spot as a need, right? Or something to improve at the regional level, like having more access to data. Interesting here also using artificial intelligence for translating data to people. Yeah, and here we already discussed this maybe in different moments in the project, like how important it is also to have the data translated into the local language, so it's more accessible to everybody and easier to understand. Yeah, definitely, I think that's something to take advantage from AI now and onwards. I will read some more, but please feel free to jump in or any thoughts you would like to share. Here we have a question. I don't know, maybe we can answer. How can we encourage and ensure active citizen participation in the transformation and decision-making process? Any thoughts on this question? Okay. Maybe
Do you
something
have
to
something about this question, Oriana, if I may?
yeah, sure.
I think that's like it's probably like another question, the ultimate question. Yes, exactly, Anka. My question is if there's any opportunity that at local level you're proposing to engage with the citizen. So like the active participation and then the engagement and transformation comes first in like creating the space to engage with the citizen. I'm reflecting about that, just starting from a program that we're delivering Climate Cake, which is called Climaton, where the initial idea is exactly to activate the citizen to then engage them in the following process. But yeah, it always depends at local level what are the opportunities proposed. I don't know, like if the people that wrote the person that wrote this question would like to mention something.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Silvia. So maybe I would like to do a quick wrap up on what we have discussed. And as a final exercise, maybe we can also do a chat shower with 1 or 2 words saying which are the key takeaways from the discussions. So you can start brainstorming there. And also things like, yeah, as we discussed, like you would like to keep on learning and to touch base in the next IPGs. So yeah, I will give you 2 minutes to start this chat shower with the key takeaways from the discussion, and we can read them. Okay, thank you, Andreane. Any takeaways you would like to share? So we have empowerment, challenges of standardization, but growing interest and projects which are hopeful. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Melissa. Any other thoughts? Okay. Well, maybe given the time, I would like to quickly wrap up what we have discussed, and then we will share with you which are the next steps. So pretty much what we have learned today is like citizen science involves diverse terms like community-based monitoring and engages the public in research using local knowledge and open source tools like mapping. It also enhances understanding of environmental changes and support in government accountability. We hear from BC3 that the complexity of having interconnected hazards affecting multiple sectors with simultaneous risks and cascading impacts is something we need to address, and like addressing these complexities requires integrated approaches such as cognitive mapping, as we were seeing in the slides, and integrated modelings, right? Also, I think we learned from Andalusia that like combining these top-down and bottom-up strategies strengthens the regional communities, because yeah, having dialogue at different levels it's key to move forward. So, and yeah, as also Dilek was sharing, all the how technology can leverage and improve how we are dealing with all these climate hazards. It's also something we need to keep on discussing. So I don't know if anybody else would like to add any key takeaway or thoughts on the presentations. Any learnings or any yeah, any thoughts on this? Okay. I want to share my screen again. Sorry for that. If not, Silvia, I think we can move forward with the feedback survey. I'm gonna sharing. Yes. Please take 2 minutes to answer this feedback survey. We would like to hear from you on how do you think these IPGs sessions are going, and the things you would like to improve. And I think you are also already sharing. Yeah, thank you, Silvia. There you have 8 questions. So please take the time to answer this. We will give you some minutes. So in the meantime, when you finish filling in the survey, we would like to share with you also our next IPG sessions that are going to take in place this afternoon. We're going to hear from the Ecosystem and Nature-Based Solutions IPGs. And then tomorrow we have the last 2 sessions, which are critical infrastructure during the morning, And then in the afternoon, we will have the finance and resources one. So if you want to register, yeah, we are sharing also in the link the Pathways to Resilience website where you can register yourself to attend these meetings. And then we will also like to share with you that you can already save the date for the IPGs week number 2, which gonna take place from the 2nd to the 6th of June. And for instance, the knowledge and data session, you can already save the date. It's gonna be taking place on Thursday 5th at morning. And here, yeah, you have the whole calendar. Anyways, we will then be sharing this information with you, but just to keep in mind that these are the upcoming IPG week. And last but not least, we would also like to invite you to participate in these next IPG sessions by sharing your case studies. And if you also would like to participate as an expert in a panel contribution, so we are sharing in the chat also the link to the form where you can register and mention if you want to participate by submitting a case study or participating as an expert panelist. So that would be much welcome to have you on board and being part of the session, not just part of the audience. And last but not least, we would like to share already the topics that we are going to be touching based on the next IPGs. On June, we are going to be talking about measuring resilience. So yeah, please save the date on Thursday, 5 June. And in September, we are going to be discussing around this digitalization of data. That's something that already came up today. So for you to know, these are going to be, yeah, the main topics we are going to be discussing in this IPG. And yeah, I think that's all. Thank you so much for participating. Here we have already the feedback. It's done, right, Silvia?
Yeah, done from
Okay.
my side, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. We really appreciate your participation. And we hope to see you again on the next IPG session.
Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely day.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.